There's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night.
Hey everybody, welcome back. So there's a lot going on right now. I hope everybody's home, safe and healthy. I am. I know I'm definitely grateful that I'm in a position where, I have a place to go, where I'm safe and comfortable. I've got enough food, got enough money for the near term. So I just want to make that a point that I do understand how lucky I am that this coronavirus epidemic hasn't affected me yet, other than minor inconveniences. And I do respect the severity of it and understand that for a lot of people already, they've lost loved ones, they've lost their jobs, financially they can't support themselves. And I also recognize I still could lose family members, and yeah, it's a scary time. But with that said, I'm still trying to be productive and move forward with my own, ambitions and goals. So I've spent the last week just kind of thinking about everything. It looks like this is going to drag out at least into the beginning of summer. Yeah, travel's not really an option right now. So I've kind of lost ambition with working on the van, but I'm going to force myself to continue forward with it. Parts being ordered might be an issue. There's still a lot I can do without parts, so I'll do those things and we'll see. So yeah, I've just been getting kind of my thoughts organized with all my projects and kind of the timeline. So for the van, I put together a video for you just to show you everything that needs to be fixed that I'm going to be working on, which I'll document. And also I've just been ordering parts while I can for my other projects. I've got my plasma table coming in April. So my garage, I need to get 220 installed, get everything organized, get air compressor. I bought myself a welder, bench grinder, drill press, all sorts of stuff for that. And then the Ford F100 project, I've got the rest of the parts I need ordered to finish the air ride. And then I've got the Detroit steel wheels in process of being ordered. But right now their company's shut down due to coronavirus. And I guess probably related, there's material shortage. So I probably won't see those wheels for earliest, a couple months, which is unfortunate, but, not the end of the world. I've identified I still need to order the parts for my 76 Yamaha XS 650 Cafe Racer. Got some work to do on that too. So yeah, we've got a lot coming up. Like I said, though, this last week has just been a lot of sitting and thinking, just, about finances, just what projects I should get done, how long they're going to take, what parts I'll need, can I get the parts, plus the van. I can't lose sight of that because once I can travel again, I definitely want to make it. I need to make it to British Columbia and Alaska this year, at the very least. So just a lot of anxiety, a lot of sitting and thinking, and not a whole lot of doing. With that, we'll go into the video going through all of my repairs and upgrades. So I hope you enjoy, and we'll see you soon. Thanks. This gull wing door setup, I want to take this OD green tarp, fabric tarp, and I think probably do snap rings and make it a fully enclosed entrance, and then have like a screen or mesh right here that zips open, and then this tarp. See if it's long enough. Yeah, looks like the tarp is the perfect size. We'll see how lazy I get or see what makes more sense to me, but just based on the way it fits already, I might just use these eyelets and we'll see. But maybe just put like hooks on top of the door so I don't actually have to cut and sew this at all, and then stake the ones on the bottom into the ground, and it should be pretty cool. Obviously there's going to be a lot of time and effort put in to make it look good. Right now I just kind of wanted to see if it looked like it was possible, and to see if my tarps were big enough. I'd forgotten. I'd bought these well over a year ago, so yeah, it looks like this is going to work out. Within the next probably month, I'll make a video of the process of installing this and the end result. Obviously the mechanical upgrades and repairs will take precedence, so yeah, cool. Looks like it'll look good. So one more important repair is my house batteries. I've been using two Optima Blue Top batteries, which are expensive and only have about 55 amp hours apiece. I didn't really do any research before I got them. I just happened to have one when I was doing the build already. So I'm like, well, I might as well get a second one and put it in parallel. But, you know, that's 55 amp hours a piece for like $270 per battery. That's not great. And I think one of them was shot, so that kind of ruined both of them. So now they don't charge up all the way and they discharge really fast. Yeah, towards the end of my trip, it was a real struggle because my batteries were constantly drained even if I was driving all day. And just by chance, the battery charger that I brought with me decided to break, so I couldn't even put them on a trickle charge. Definitely going to get some new batteries. Right now, ordering off Amazon doesn't seem to be an option, but there's some, I think they're 100 or 110 amp hour, just AGM batteries for, I think they're around $160 a piece. I was just going to get two of those and put them in parallel. You know, that'll give me over double of what I was working with before, which when they were in pristine condition, you know, that was just enough to do everything I wanted to. So I think I'll be all right with that upgrade. Yeah. And then the other thing, you know, I should have known better, but I left. A lot of this isn't as messy as it looks, but if that makes sense, it's just wires that I could probably shorten. But the way I secured them in here is just by this one strap on that one anchor point. So they can still pivot, which isn't great. And, you know, when I was doing some off-roading, they did and caused a little electrical fire, which was kind of scary and just made me realize the importance of really securing those down to where they can't move at all. I mean, it's common sense, but, you know. So new batteries and anchor them down so they cannot move. That's definitely towards the top of the list. So today we're just going to go through a big list, more like a book, of mechanical issues that need to be addressed. 12,000 miles on a fresh build of this magnitude. Of course, things are going to come up. Corners have been cut, unfortunately. And also just, you know, it's going to happen no matter what. No matter how meticulous you are. Certain things will need to be adjusted or fixed or replaced or upgraded. I guess we'll start with the vacuum pump. The vacuum pump is actually the biggest reason that brought me back home from my trip. Both times now, the actual body of the pump is leaking, and it's leaking quite a bit to where I make a big mess anywhere I go. And the first time I came back, I actually did a complete reseal on it, and it lasted a few thousand miles. But then a few thousand miles into my trip, it started leaking again, and even worse. I've been told by a few people it's a common issue, and that other people have actually had their first reseal not take either. But what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to completely remove it and replace it with an electric vacuum pump. They're pretty cheap, less than $100, and then I won't have to worry about that issue again. So that's number one on the list. Number two is install an intercooler, because I did not do that. So I put in too big of a radiator, which kind of took up all the space and, you know, wasted all the space in between here. So right now I can't really fit an intercooler in your standard position. You know, I could do some crazy stuff, which I might, and maybe cut a hole in the hood or install it in front of the grill, but that'd be ugly. We'll see. Need to do some thinking. It's kind of right now between doing an intercooler and doing water methanol. If I do water methanol, I'll just have to install the kit and it'll be pretty simple. So we'll see. Oil catch can for the crankcase breather. Right now, see if you can see it. I guess we'll come down here. Right now, it's just blowing oil right onto my starter and making a mess. Not a ton, but just enough where it's an issue. So I'm gonna do an oil catch can from there. That'll be pretty cheap and simple. Rear main seal on the engine. Unfortunately, that's leaking, but not too bad. It's not really that big of an issue, but you know, nobody. Let's see. Yeah, you can see a drip there coming from the tranny. You know, not the end of the world, but any oil leak I can fix, I will. But that one, for me, it'll be cheap, but it'll be time consuming and difficult. Yeah, not really looking forward to that one. Might actually skip it because it's just a drip. Oil cooler. I don't have an oil temp gauge either, so I should add that. But I feel like my oil is getting hot, especially with the high turbo temps. So I would like to integrate an oil cooler into this. Another big one is separate the circuits and rewire this thing. And that's a big one. I really screwed up. So, to successfully drive this, I've had to do a lot of crazy stuff. So I'll kind of walk you through it. So I have everything wired to this one main switch and push button start. And, you know, I've got my headlights, which even just turning on the headlights drains my voltage way down. I don't know if you can see that, but it's 11.5 volts. And then right now, I've also got my radiator fans connected to this toggle switch. And that pulls it down to about 11.5, 11.6 volts. And then when I turn the lights and the fan on, you can hear it just killed the fan. It's just overloaded. So yeah, while driving, I've actually had the situation where I was overheating and it was night. So I actually needed, you know, my headlights and my radiator fans to be on. And I've burned out that switch multiple times from those scenarios. You know, worst case scenario is it's raining too, and I gotta turn my wipers on. So yeah, I'm gonna do a little more research, separate the circuits. Probably do. I've got two relays. I think one for the headlights and one for the radiator fans. I'll probably redo those because I think they're supposed to be closer to the actual house or starter battery and be a shorter run of cable from that. And I forget what the switch is called, but I'm going to wire in, you know, the radiator fans the normal way. So after it reaches a certain temperature, it'll just automatically kick on from a switch in the engine bay. So yeah, that'll be cheap. Not too difficult, just a little bit of time for me to learn and redo that wiring. But yeah, it's been a huge hassle. I mean, just having to think about not being able to use your windshield wipers and your headlights and your radiator fans at the same time. Like, that's not normal, obviously. It's a little bit embarrassing, but I made it work. Let's see. Seals, window seals. Look at that. That's crazy. Obviously, the wind noise has been insane. The engine noise is loud too, with the turbo especially. So I'll also be getting a new doghouse gasket. This one's old, seen better days. Do a little bit better job of sound deadening all around the firewall. My flashers currently don't work. Have to look into that. I'm sure that's an easy fix, but still, especially with something like this where, you know, it's not uncommon for me to pull over on the side of the road just to kind of at least check things out and see if there is an issue or address an issue that actually is legitimate. So yeah, it'd be nice to have flashers for that. The turbo. So the turbo is an HX35, which is just too big. It'd be good in a compound setup, but not for a single turbo on an engine this small. So it's pretty laggy, and especially when I'm trying to climb steep grades and mountain passes, I run into a lot of issues where I'm just bogging down and creating smoke and more heat, so my EGTs get high. So I really got to pay attention. So I've got a Garmin GPS unit for my speedometer, and it's got a bunch of other data as well. So here you can see the proof. We've got max speeds 79 miles per hour, moving average 44 miles per hour, and my odometer, we'll call it, it's 11,745 miles on this build so far. So yeah, we'll go back. Yeah, the gauges I do have, I've got my temperature for my coolant, got oil pressure, EGTs, and boost gauge, of course, fuel gauge. I should have done an oil temp gauge right here, but I left it an open hole. Yeah, I was originally going to look into compound turbos, but that gets kind of expensive and complicated. So instead, I think I'm going to look for a quick spool exhaust housing for my HX35. I feel like that should do the trick, honestly. Between that and an intercooler and or water methanol, I think that'll be good to go, especially if I'm not pulling a trailer or anything, just the current setup. And I think that'll only be a couple $100. I guess one issue is I might have to have the exhaust modified slightly to tie back in, but not too big of a hassle or cost. Let's see. Rebuild the tranny. Probably won't do that, but the synchros are definitely out in third and fourth gear, so I'm having to double clutch and still grind. So I lose momentum. It sounds bad. It's embarrassing. But that's something I'll probably just deal with for the time being for the sake of money. Yeah, and the steering shaft down here, right at the steering box, it's just a little loose. There's no movement front to back. Like, it's not going to pop off by any means, but definitely need to pull that apart and investigate. Obviously, you don't want your steering to fail, and it's definitely getting slopped out by the steering box. Then we've got the alternator bracket that has broken, which I showed you before. Now I've got it clamped together, but that and just the alignment in general, it's a little bit off. It's on the back side of this pulley. So you can either fix or replace that bracket and fix the alignment on that. So yeah, those are the main things that need to be done as far as mechanical issues. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Lots of content coming up with the van repairs and all my other projects, and eventually we'll get back on the road.
Water's up to my chin.